Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Robert, and today I want to talk about Folklore: The Affliction. So, I acquired the first edition box of Folklore about a month ago because I saw it on sale, and I have heard some really good things about this game. I have mentioned in other videos that I am um, I'm very invested in finding solo board games that try to capture Dungeons and Dragons in a box, okay, that are soloable. So this is a very beloved category of mine currently. My my holy grail in this category is Explored. So I'm going to be making comparisons to that. Now, this is the end of the story number two out of the six stories that come in the core set. I wrote a very detailed post on Board Game Geek um, explaining and detailing my thoughts from a solo player's perspective after finishing this first story. Um, that campaign run later ended up in a defeat in chapter two, so this is my second attempt that you see here. I just finished in a victory the story number two, but I'll link that post because there are a lot of things that you need to keep in mind if you want to play this game for solo. All right, if you know what to expect, there is a great game here. All right, and a lot of fun to be had. But yeah, do your research. I will mention a lot of those things here from that piece that I wrote, but feel free to read that as well if you want. The difference is, this perspective is I've played it a lot more since, and I did beat the second chapter. So so first thing I wanna mention is just look at how much you have to keep track of. Just controlling three characters. Okay, now the unfortunate thing about Folklore is that it really just does not scale well for two characters from what I've read. So I did have to, I didn't know that in advance. I did a lot of research because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't burned by this game. And yeah, so you do have to control three characters for this game, and there is just so much to keep track of. Uh, One thing I mentioned in the written impressions that I made is uh, that you need to keep in mind is the lack of components because, for example, these status tokens you see here, they don't come with the game. And you have to keep track of that somehow. You can write it down somewhere, or you can make these tokens that you can find and print them out. Okay. Um, the health trackers are not great. I do make them if you laminate them and then add these clips. I think they become great. But the way that they're intended to be used from the box, you're supposed to do this. Please, I'm not gonna do that. Are you kidding me? Sorry, I don't know who thought that was a good idea. But if you laminate it and add these clips, I think they're actually great. But yeah, so components are a bit lackluster. No, less than desirable health trackers, no status tokens. Also, certain items that you acquire throughout the campaign don't have a physical card, so that's something to keep in mind too. You're gonna have to write them down somewhere. There's also an equipment pack you can buy, which I did by the way, that gives you physical cards of certain things that your characters can acquire, all right, throughout the campaign. But okay, so yeah, those are a couple caveats that I'm mentioning. But how good is this at capturing the ND? Well, it's incredible. And the only thing that keeps this from dethroning Explore It for me is the fact a couple things. One, you're limited to the amount of stories that come with the game. It is a you come there's a story journal with 6 stories. There's more downloadable stories. Expansions bring more stories, but you're limited to that, and you're always going to be stuck with only those stories. You can make up your own, of course. The system is great and lends itself for you creating your own campaigns if you want it, but yeah, you're pretty much limited to that. What gives Explore It the edge for me is the fact that I can just play Explore It in a one and go session, and that's it. Now, those sessions, because of the upkeep from solo play, they can take an entire week or even a weekend of the games sitting on my table. So it feels like an epic campaign that can last a week or a weekend or even 2 weeks, depending on how much free time I have, leaving Explore It up on my table. And then I'll just put it away. I don't have to worry about keeping track of all this stuff between story missions. Just again, I just want to reiterate: look at how much stuff you have to keep track of. It's insane. I wish this is a bit of an issue with this game for me. How much stuff there is. It's easy to miss certain things if you don't pay extremely close attention, like certain stat bonuses or bad or any kind of negative statuses. Like you could forget just from how much there is to track, and you don't really have the option of playing in at least in a balanced way with less than three controlling less than 3 characters. So that is the unfortunate part with this. I think this system is amazing. One a big advantage that this has over Explore It for me is that you have the over world map, okay? But then there's parts of the story where you transition to a grid with miniature combat. I think that is really cool. Explore It doesn't really do that. You're always in the world map, okay, doing your thing, and you resolve everything to rolls. You'll draw an encounter, but your characters will still be in that spot in the map. Here, there's various map sheets that come with the game, and you're gonna be moving between different locations. Very, very interesting how it does that. The stories are very well written. The 2 chapters that I experienced, I think the writing is just fantastic with this game. Just so well written, and it really it jogs your imagination. Like it really got my imagination going. I like the gothic setting. That's one other, in my opinion, disadvantage that this game has. You only have it in gothic flavor. Okay, I really like the generic Explore It, um, the generic D&D Explore It options that uh, Explore It offers. Just generic D&D fare. I really like that. And I love the gothic theme. Don't get me wrong. I just wish, I want to have a dwarf like a paladin. You know what I mean? I really would love to have just a fantasy fair D&D trope version of this system. The system is pretty incredible, and so just great job at capturing a DM-less D&D experience. Just so good. I can picture this being great multiplayer as well, because now you can just worry about your own character. You don't have to worry about keeping track of all this stuff. Okay. So now with the second campaign playthrough I did here, I finally did defeat this bad guy in the second story. And a couple of things I realized, right, that I didn't mention originally in my written impressions. Um, the constant rolling of dice that some people complain about, that started to rear its head a bit, because there were certain scenarios while adventuring on the grid where it's just rolling dice, rolling. Like there really isn't much strategy in certain points. The combat isn't super tactical. You're just gonna be rolling dice until somebody dies. That kind of started to show itself a bit. So do keep that in mind. I originally didn't have that complaint because I was just so enchanted by the game. I really like it. Um, but then on the second try, it was just kind of going through the motions and rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling, and that can get a bit tiresome after a bit. Okay, but yeah, so I think this game is fantastic. I don't know, with the amount of stuff that I have to keep track of. I'll definitely play the other chapters because I mean, this was only $30. I got it on sale. I think it's one of the best $30 I've ever paid since I started the hobby. Just the amount of content I've gotten here is it's insane. I've not even played the other four chapters. Like I said, there's free chapters you can download. There's expansions if you want more characters, more stories. This system has a lot to offer. But with the amount of stuff that you have to keep track of, I'm not gonna look forward to that. Eventually, when I do play my campaigns over the next few months. If I want to scratch that D&D itch, this does a fantastic job. I just wish that there was a way to just play one-off sessions like Hexplorer does, and the different flavor. And last thing that I'll mention that I do not mention of when I wrote the piece, right? Again, there's many things that you have to keep track of, so make sure you do your research, read the written piece. There's things that you need to know in advance if this game piques your interest, okay? To keep your expectations in check. So one thing I didn't mention is the fact that the system is this game is a bit messy in the sense like the product line is a bit messy. The second edition has standees. I bought the first edition on sale that has miniatures, but finding the first edition expansions that come with miniatures instead of standees, the dark tales, it's really difficult. It's very expensive. So now, if I want to get the expansion at a decent price, I have to get the version with standees, and now I'm gonna have miniatures and standees. Um, the product line is very messy because there's other issues too with equipment packs. There's an equipment pack that got errated. There's second edition upgrade kits. Like that's one thing I didn't realize initially. Like the product line is a bit messy. I think I wish they just kind of clean all of this up and just made it more easy to purchase. But you have to spend so much time like figuring out, okay, do I want the standee version? Like it's just strange. And last thing I'll mention. That I you need to keep in mind the rules. It is there's a lot to learn here, and you might need to do some house ruling. Now the rulebook explicitly mentions that, which I really appreciate because, for example, in my Skyrim review, if you've checked that out, that rulebook just that game just expects you, doesn't even mention it though, but it just expects you to fill in all these gaps. Like it's just so incomplete. It's insane how incomplete that game is. It would have helped a bit. I don't think it would have excused it, but it would have helped a bit if they say, hey, this is an RPG. You can fill in some gaps. You can do some, on the fly ruling. This game explicitly states that, it is in the spirit of old school RPGs. You're gonna be doing some house ruling every now and then if something isn't clear. And crazy enough, I haven't really found that. I rarely found that. The rulebook is pretty robust. I did read in advance that, prepare because there is a lot to learn and certain things aren't 100% clear. But in general, I didn't really have to do any house ruling. I think that the rule book here is pretty robust, and I already know because the rulebook mentions it. I'm gonna have to do a bit of house ruling every now and then, and that's fine. But I appreciate the rule book, giving me the heads up. So great system, um, great system. Check it out if you see it on sale. I think this game it's incredible. One of the best DM-less RPGs in a box that a solo player could buy. Really wish you could do less characters though. It would encourage me more to go through a campaign because it's just gonna get crazier with effects and items and leveling up. It's gonna get nuts the amount of stuff that I'm gonna have to keep track of. But that's pretty much it, folks. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have any comments, any feedback, any questions, please share them in the comments section. If you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.